What is up, everyone? In today's video we're going to be doing War of the Monsters All Costumes Ranked. Now, I had this idea a little while ago. I thought it'd be pretty interesting to go through all the very unique costumes in this game and just go over them and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 and how cool I think they are. So to be doing this, I am going to be doing using two controllers at the same time. So it might be a little finicky at times. I might be not the best at controlling two characters at once, but hopefully it won't go too bad. But starting right off the bat, we're going to go with Raptros. So now Raptros is probably one of the more, I don't know, not basic, but kind of simple designs. Because, I mean, it's just a dragon, right? Like, don't get me wrong, it is a cool design. So we have costume 1 and 2 here. It is a very cool design, but it is kind of just a dragon. So for costume 1, which is the orange one here, I'd probably just give it like probably a 7 out of 10. It's still a cool looking dragon, but it is kind of just like, you know, a normal dragon, so nothing too crazy there. Do the taunt just so you can see that. And then for costume 2 here, it's, you know, the same, but it's purple and green. I actually think I like the normal design a little bit more, so I'd probably give that one a 6 out of 10. Destroy this plane out here. Alright, so now let's move on to costumes 3 and 4. Alright, so now we got costumes 3 and 4 loading in, and to be completely honest with you, most of these I do remember, because I remember having like all of them back on my original PS2, but some of them I'm not 100% familiar with. Like, to be honest, I don't remember this costume 3 for Raptros here, the like green and yellow, I would guess you'd call it. It is another like just color pattern from like the normal design, but it's actually pretty cool, and I think I like it a little bit more than the original one. I'd probably give this one like an 8 out of 10. I just like the way the colors go against each other. And Raptros costume 4 is pretty awesome. I mean, it's just like a skeleton version of the design. Super cool. It's definitely at least pretty cool. I mean, seeing the fire go behind it, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd probably give that one a 9 out of 10 for sure. That's a pretty awesome design. Alright, with that we'll move on to our next character. Okay, so up next we have Togera. So now Togera is obviously inspired by Godzilla, if you didn't know that. Standard design, the one on the left here, is just a pretty standard Godzilla. Let's see if I can make a meet up here. So pretty standard Godzilla design, nothing too crazy. I mean, it's kind of the greenish blue with the gray. It's definitely not bad by any means. He's got a pretty cool taunt. I'd probably give it another like 7 out of 10. Just kind of like a basic, kind of like Godzilla like character. Now, costume 2 is actually a pretty cool difference with the colors. I like the purple and blue. It's definitely out there and very bright and wild, but I actually think it works pretty well. I think it's probably on the I think it's probably on the same level as costume 1. I think I'd give that one a 7 out of 10 as well. I'm just interested to see, is there fire any different colors? Okay, no. So the fire is the same color. I will check that on the specials on the costume 3 and 4 just to make sure everything looks the same. But yeah, I'd probably give both of these 7 out of 10. Okay, so now we're moving on to Togera costumes 3 and 4. Okay, that one is pretty sick. That one's also pretty cool. Okay, so these are definitely two strong ones. In my opinion, I think these are both pretty awesome looking. Oop, I'm walking into a wall. Smoke over here. Yeah, these are both two pretty cool ones in my opinion. I mean, Cyber Togera, basically like, you know, like a Mecha Godzilla type thing. I mean, that's pretty awesome. That one's probably, let's see if the fire is still green. The fire is still green. I think I'll probably see all of them, but I am gonna check. That one is really cool. That was probably a 9 out of 10 for me. And then this one over here, I'm not 100% sure, but it's pretty much just looks like a demon from Doom, which is also really cool. Although I do think I actually like the cyborg one a little bit more. So I think I'd probably give this one an 8 out of 10. But yeah, both very cool. Very nice looking Togera costumes. So yeah, let's move on to the next monster. Alright, now we are moving on to Praetor. Now Praetor is a pretty cool design right off the bat. And one thing I'd like to say just before continuing with the character designs is the actual like city and map design in this game is, I mean, I think it's pretty awesome. Considering that pretty much every stage or arena, whatever you want to call it, is just a, let's see if we can get to an open area. Considering pretty much every stage is just a, I am not controlling too well and being able to talk at the same time. Okay. Pretty much every stage is just kind of like a city. And for every stage just being a city, I mean, they make them very unique and diverse, and they definitely show off all like a bunch of different types of cities from different places. And I just love how like each like city or arena map feels very unique. And like one thing that you'll notice they do is with the edge, like the horizon with the skyline, where you've got like the buildings, and this one's you got like lights looking up. It's very cool how you'll notice the sky is like, see if I can get a better look at it. The sky is like changes colors, like this one kind of fades from a yellow to an orangish red, and each map it'll be like a different, if it's nighttime it'll be like a purple changing into like a blue. I just think it's a very cool design that they did there. So now getting into Praetor, the basic costume is, I mean, it's a giant praying mantis. It's definitely a cool design, but nothing that like blows me out of the water. Probably another 7 out of 10. And then the second costume, which is the ant version, which you fight when you fight Outpost X, the like first boss. It's definitely not, it's not a bad design, but I think I prefer the praying mantis. Praying mantis would probably be like a 6 out of 10. Sorry, the praying mantis normal one would be a 7 out of 10, and then Praetor's second costume, the ant version, would probably be a 6 out of 10 for me. Costume 1 7 and costume 2 is 6. Sorry, I don't know if I definitely got that confused. But yeah, it looks like everything is the same in terms of special wise. So yeah, let's move on to the next two costumes. Alright, and now we have costumes 3 and 4 loading in. And it looks like, continuing the theme, we will have costume 3 is going to be another cyborg or cyber version of the characters, which, if you can't tell, I do love quite a bit. I think it's a very, very good idea. It's definitely like a safe idea, but it is still a very good idea, and it's cool to see like the little cyborg variations. Let's see if we can get a nice shot here. Yeah, so I mean these are definitely pretty cool. I mean, both of these are really great. I think the cyborg one probably is again like a 9 out of 10 for me. I love the red eyes and just like the little designs they got over the whole body. Very, very cool. Assuming this is probably the same. Oh, actually that one did change. I'm not sure if it changed for costume 2, but it definitely changed there. It's now silver and black, which is cool, instead of the normal like brownish green. Let's see if this one changes. That one changed as well. That's very cool. It has the black and like the yellows. That is nice to see that there are some changes to besides just the character themselves and actually their specials. Yeah, so costume 3, the cyborg one is definitely a 9 out of 10. I think the like Hornet or Wasp version, which is costume 4, I think that's also going to be a 9 out of 10 for me. It's very, very nice looking. I love the like the Stinger, I guess. Looks very cool with like the red on the end. Yeah, these are both just some great looking costumes. Definitely like a 9 out of 10 for both for me. But alright, let's move on to the next monster. Alright, now moving on to Kongar. Yes, if you didn't know or you didn't guess it, Kongar is a reference to Godzilla. I'm sure everyone knew that, but you know, just in case the 1 or 2 people didn't. Let's see if we can move out to the main part here. Now, I mean, Kongar, it's, like I said, sorry, I said Godzilla, didn't I? King Kong. It is obviously a reference to King Kong, not Godzilla. But just like Togera is to Godzilla, Kongar is to King Kong. It's a great, like, reference design. I mean, it's a giant gorilla. He looks cool. I like his taunt. The colors look good. Nothing to complain about. Just like a 7 out of 10. Now, this costume, too, is very cool. It's kind of like it almost looks like a snow ape, like he would be somewhere like very cold, and then he's got those super bright beaming eyes. Let's see if these are any different. Super bright like blue eyes, very cool. I think Kongar's special would be the same because his other one's just a roar, but I will check those on the next 2 costumes. But yeah, this very cool like Arctic looking monkey. I'd probably give this one an 8 out of 10. That one is very nice. Alright, let's move on to those next costumes. Alright, now moving on to costumes 3 and 4. Of course, you know I'm gonna love that cyborg one. Wow, costume 4 is very interesting looking. It's almost like costume 4 is very interesting to me because it reminds me of costume 2, except it's a lot more like it's just like the polygon version of it. But first, let's start with costume 3. You know I love the cyborg ones. In my opinion, this is the best one, the peak one. By far and away, Converse best costume. Probably my favorite one so far. I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. The first 10 out of 10 so far. I love the cyborg look. I love the one like beaming red eye. Let's see if the roar, just the roar like I figured. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, the one beaming red eye, all the like the wires and intricate details. I mean, this just looks amazing. I absolutely love this. Yeah, that's the first 10 out of 10 for me. Now, his fourth costume is definitely interesting. I don't hate it. It's just an interesting way to go. Like I said, it basically is like his second costume color-wise, but it's just like very pointy and jagged. I definitely don't hate it. But I definitely don't like it as much as the this costume right here, the cyborg one. So I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 just because I do like the colors still. I think it looks nice. But it's just kind of weird with the like jagged edges, and I'm not sure if this is a reference to something I'm just not aware of. But it's still a cool costume. Alright, let's move on to our next monster. Okay, now we are moving on to Robo 47. Now Robo 47 he's got a pretty cool design, but it is just kind of like a standard like robot design, but it's definitely not bad. I mean, none of the designs so far have been bad, even like just the base ones. I think they're all just very, like, I think this game is very well designed. I think there's a lot of like love and care put into the way it looks and the presentation and everything. Probably my favorite thing about Robo 47 design is the actual jetpack that you do use when you jump. I think that's a nice touch. And then got the missile there. That's also very cool that it pops off his back and is the missile. I like the one beaming red eye and then the electricity going over the head. So again, it's just like a basic kind of robot design, but it's not bad. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Probably 6 actually. 6. We'll do 6.5 because I feel like it's not a 6, but it's not a 7. We'll give it right in between 6.5. Now costume 2 is, you know, just the same thing, except it's got the blue for some parts of it instead of just all gray. And I do actually think that makes it look a little bit better, so I would actually give this one a 7 out of 10 compared to the normal costume. Alright, so let's move on to the next two. Okay, so now we have costumes 3 and 4 loading in. Let's see what those look like. Alright, so that one is pretty... So we've got costume 3 here that I'm showing now. Is pretty much the same as 1 and 2. It's just instead of being all gray or blue, it's red, which is not bad. I think it's probably on the same level the blue, which I believe I gave an 7. Now, the fourth costume is pretty interesting. He's still got a missile on his back, but it looks different, so I imagine... Oh, actually, it does not look different when it pops out. Okay, I figured it might look like the one in the back, but it doesn't. That's alright. It's still a pretty cool design. Definitely, like, it looks like the bare bones version of this one, kind of like shredded down to the wireframe, but then also has like a different shaped head. I do like the head a lot. That's probably my favorite part, with that like visor in the middle. I don't think it's like absolutely amazing though. It's not like wowing me, but it's definitely not bad. I'd probably give this one online with just the color switches, just like a 7 out of 10. I don't love it, but it's definitely not bad by any means. Alright, so let's move on to our next monster. Alright, so now we are going to be looking at Agamo. Now, Agamo is I think just straight out the bat has just a super cool design. I like the, I'm not sure if it's like Aztec or like Mayan, like pyramid, like culture that he came from, if you see his origin. But he has a very cool like design like that. It's very It's very unique, and I think just for like a base costume, it's very, very cool. I'd probably give it just straight up an 8 out of 10 just for the original. Like, I just think it's very unique. Looks very cool. I love the fire head going through, not just out of his head like hair, but also his eyes and his mouth. I think that's super cool. And then just like the stone look it has is just very, very unique and very cool looking. Definitely a big fan of that. Now moving, oh, where did his head go? Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. That was weird. Okay, now moving on to the second costume, this one right here. Let me get the I do like it, but I honestly think I don't like it as much as the first one. It's kind of like the same thing, obviously, but it's very bright green. It's got like the little red highlights, which is cool. And then it's got the little like gold trim around some parts. I think I actually prefer the first costume a little bit more, but this one's not bad at all. It's kind of like a cool, like shinier, like fancier looking version of it. I think I just prefer the stone look from the first costume, so I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. So yeah, let's move on to those next two costumes. Alright, so now we are moving on to costume 3 and 4. Now, if I remember correctly, one of these, yep, that one right there is a very cool tie-in with Twisted Metal. So let's get him over to the same area so we can see that better. Oh wow, that's, so yeah, this costume is amazing. Come on, let's get that widescreen going maybe. There it is. Okay. So yeah, this costume is absolutely amazing. But before we talk about the Twisted Metal one, let's talk about number 3 here. This costume is kind of like a mix, I feel like, in between the first and the second one, where the first one is just stone, very simple. This one is, and then the second one is like kind of shiny and decorative. This one is kind of what I would like to see more than the second one, because it's the stone one, but instead of just being like gray stone, it looks like the stone, like the rock has been painted, or like his hands are almost made out of clay. And I think that is just a very cool like design choice. I like the colors, the blue, the yellow, the orange. I think this one is a very cool design. Probably, I think it's just a little bit better than the first one, so I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. This is definitely a good one for him. Now, costume 4 is absolutely fantastic. This is obviously a tie-in with Twisted Metal. I believe it is with Twisted Metal Black. You take the head off, it even shows you that. That's very cool. You get to see the Twisted Metal, Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal take his big like metal head off. That is very cool. Yeah, this is just a great design. I believe to get this costume, you had to have a completed save of Twisted Metal Black on your PS2 memory card, and then you would unlock this costume or unlock the ability to buy it. But yeah, this is just amazing. I mean, you got the Sweet Tooth like clown face. You got the hair that's on fire. I mean, it matches perfectly with Agamo. You even got the laugh that he does. Absolutely just amazing tie-in. Great looking character. Show off some like his attacks here. Great looking character. Love the big like mace ball they gave him. Even though it's completely different from Agamo and it's like all mechanical instead of like the natural stone and like clay look, I think it's absolutely amazing. Definitely a 10 out of 10. Love this crossover. Alright, let's head on to our next monster. Alright, so now we are moving on to Ultra V. Now Ultra V is obviously supposed to be like a Gundam or mecha inspired character, and he has a pretty cool design. Let's see if we can get the camera to go into, there we go. So yeah, so Ultra V, first costume here, it's got the like kind of like classic Gundam looking colors with the blue, red, and like the yellow. I like the jet engines, the way they shoot out. Let's see if the hand, yep, the hand I imagine will just kind of go with the color, whatever the hand you have is. I would kind of want to see the sword one, so we'll do that with this. I did not mean to press that button. Anyway, it's a cool design. It's not super complicated or anything. The colors are good. It works. I'd probably give this one a 7 out of 10 just for the first costume basic design. Now the second costume, in my opinion, is way cooler. I mean, it's very similar to the first. Show the sword off. Very similar to the first. Obviously, like the main parts of it, but the design, in my opinion, with these colors looks way cooler. It's way more intimidating. You've got the like dark bluish, almost like kind of like gray. You got like the black gloves. You got the awesome like beady red eyes that look like super intimidating. The jetpack looks cool. I'm not sure just the colors is the same on the flames of the jetpack, but I think this design just looks amazing. This one would probably be a 9 out of 10 for me. So let's move on to those next costumes. Okay, and now we are moving on to Ultra V. I always mix up his name, or their name, I guess, and call them Mecha V. I don't know why. It is Ultra V, not Mecha V. So I'm gonna apologize if I say that again, because I probably will. Ultra V costumes 3 and 4. Now, I realize these costumes are all probably referenced to like some Gundam or like Mecha that I just don't know because I'm not into that. You guys can let me know in the comments because this looks like a very specific color pattern on both of these, especially number 3, costume 3. It does look pretty cool. I'm not as big a fan of this one as I am costume 2, but I think it's definitely like on par with costume 1. We can shoot the hand here. I think Roach had a purple hand, which is interesting. Definitely like on par, I would say, with costume 1 at a, I believe I give it a 7 out of 10. Definitely cool, just not my favorite color pattern, but definitely looks good. Kind of reminds me of McDonald's. Now, costume 4 is very cool. It changes a lot. I mean, it's completely changed from a more like masculine to a more like feminine figure with the just like the body shape. It's got like different shoulder pads. The boots are different. I mean, everything about it is different, including the jetpack, which has like 6 little spikes on it now, and I like that they all actually have their own like trail. And I actually want to see what the sword looks like. I'm gonna stand over here. Yeah, so this version even has a different sword. It's got the like pink and purple colors. I like those colors mixed very well on this with the like kind of like gray looking wireframe, and then like the blue on the shoulder pads and stuff. Very cool design. I think I do still like the costume 2 a little bit more, but this one's definitely like an 8 out of 10 for me. The jetpack part does quite a bit of lifting. I do like that quite a lot. But yeah, let's move on to our next monster. Alright, so now for our next monster we have Magmo. Now Magmo is a pretty cool design, definitely one of the more unique ones in my opinion. Let's see if we can get it to go down this volcano. Might have to climb out. Excuse me. Like I was saying, Magmo definitely has a pretty unique design when it comes to like just the standard design for like the monsters. Like some of them you can tell very much like based on other things, but Magmo feels pretty original to me. I definitely like his design a lot. There we go. Yeah, I think just like as a base design, it's pretty cool. I like the big teeth and like the forearms is great. And like the lava, obviously, I like the lava. Oops. I did not expect him to launch it that far. Obviously, like the lava in between like the molten cracks of like obsidian looks great. I think it's a very cool design. Just for the first costume and base one, I'd probably give it probably an 8 out of 10. Now moving on to the second one, I think I actually like this one a little bit less. What I like with the first costume design is it's like obsidian with like lava coming through the cracks. It looks like it's seeping through. This one is like all lava with like just a little bit of rock, which I'm not as much of a fan of. Wow, his face looks amazing when he shoots those fireballs. Never usually see that from the front. I do think it is still a cool design, but I think I prefer the first one quite a bit more. I'd probably give this one like a 6 out of 10. I'm not as big a fan of it. But alright, let's move on to those next 2 costumes. Alright, now we are loading in costumes 3 and 4, so we can check those out. Okay, looks like very interesting and different with costumes 3 here. Let's see if we can get over here and so we can take a better look at it. Walk to the beach. Control this one. Sorry, I wish I could do this a little faster, but doing 2 at once has not turned out the best for me. Alright, so this is a very interesting one with costume 3. less of like a cyborg or like mech version of the character, and it's more like a steampunk. Has a very like steampunk feel. It looks like it almost has like digger claws for hands. He's got like the grill, like stove looking thing in the middle of his chest. He's got like just the lava like powering him. I like these spikes in the feet, kind of like help him stick through the ground or whatever. And the mouth like hinge being like that jaw is pretty cool. Definitely an interesting design. I don't think I like it as much as the original. It is very cool though. Maybe I don't think it's on par with the original, but I don't think it's a whole point less. So I give this one a 7.5. Now costume 4 is similar to costume 2 is what it reminds me of anyway. Except instead of it just looking like it's a bunch of lava with a little bit of rock, it is literally all lava on fire with just like a little bit of rock on his hands, his feet, and then his head. What I do like about this one, which I do think I like it more than the second costume, is the fact that since his whole body is lava and then there's just like rock on his head and then the fire coming out the top, it almost looks like his head is literally a volcano, which I think was the purpose, like why they designed it like that, which I think is a very cool look. I still don't think I like it as much as the first one or the steampunk one. It is very cool, but it can be kind of like visually like a lot going on. You have like all this fire going on, and also in the water. Kind of weird in the water, although I guess it's like his lava's burning that hot that it stays in the water, or his fire. Still a cool design, but yeah, I think I like the steampunk one in the first costume a little bit more. I think I'll give this one just a 7. Alright, let's move on to our next monster. Alright, so now moving on, we have Kineticlops. Now, Kineticlops is another one of those characters I think is pretty unique and kind of like an original design. It's pretty cool. It's got the like very like skeleton like exo frame or whatever you call it, and then it's got obviously the electricity going all around. Definitely a unique design. The giant like Cyclops eyeball. Obviously it's Kineticlops, so it's like kinetic energy mixed with Cyclops. So you know, it's definitely a unique character. I like the idea. It's not a bad design, but it's not one of my favorites. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 just to start off. Now costume 2 is pretty cool because it's obviously the same except it's green. Let's see if his lightning's green. His lightning is not green. That does kind of suck. But just for the costume 2, not too big of a deal since it's just a color change. Definitely again, a cool design like the first one, except it's just green. I feel like it doesn't fit as well though, obviously because electricity you kind of associate it with blue, and then also because his lightning doesn't change with him. If that changed, it'd be a little bit better. But because of that, I'm probably going to give it a 6 out of 10. So let's move on to our next 2 costumes. Alright, so now we have costumes 3 and 4, and if I remember correctly, costume 4 is quite different. Yep, there it is right there. It's pretty cool little sneak peek you get to see. There's like a almost like merman, like lizard monster type of thing, instead of the electricity, which is a pretty cool touch. It's very different. But before we get into that one, let's get into costume 3. So costume 3 here is actually pretty cool. It's the same as 1 and 2, just another color, but it's like the body and exoskeleton is black, and then the eyeball is like a dark blue, and then his electricity going around him is like this dark blue. It's like this energy flowing. I think it's really cool. And it's a small kind of hard to notice change, but his lightning does actually look a little bit different. Instead of being the brighter blue, I do believe it's a little bit of like a darker, more purple color. So I do like that they actually changed that on this one. I think I like it a little bit more than the original one, just because it is pretty unique. I think I would rather rock with this costume. I'd probably give this one a 7.5. I believe I give the original a 7. I'd probably give it a 7.5. Now, costume 4 obviously is very different. Very cool with the like merman lizard vibe. It's a very different one. I think when he attacks, he even uses like, instead of like the normal one uses his eyeball, yeah, so he like uses his brain, I believe, which is a pretty cool touch there. Instead of having like the big eyeball, he's got his brain or whatever that comes out of his mouth. Pretty cool there. The only problem I have with this costume, because it does look really cool, the only problem I have with it is that he still does like electricity stuff. They could have, I think if they gave him like water powers or something instead, where the electricity was just like water that he was blasting at you, I think it would have looked better. Because it's just kind of weird for him to just be shooting electricity, but he's like this aquatic creature looking thing. So because of that, I can't rank it too high, but it's still not a bad costume. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. So yeah, let's move on to our last monster. And now for our last monster, we have Zorgulon. So now, obviously, Zorgulon is a space alien. I believe he doesn't really have an origin, so which kind of sucks that you don't get to see Raptros or Zorgulon's origins. We could have seen like why Zorgulon came to Earth, or if they crashed, and like what, you know, like the mutant power stuff they had that made all the monsters. It would have been kind of cool to see. But going off of that to costume 1, it is a pretty cool alien design. You know, there's lots of different alien designs out there. I like the, kind of gives me like Mars Attacks vibes with the brain and like the little like tentacles for the mouth. I do also like his little like tentacle lays, and when he jumps, you can see that he uses like his little jetpack thing, or like his, maybe that's like their alien air that they have to breathe, but you can see he kind of uses that to jump. And I also like, let's see if we can get it. I don't want to accidentally hit him. I do like how he uses the like little blaster in his like attacks, and he uses his like little eyes, his red eyes, like shoot those 2 beams at you. That's a pretty cool projectile. It's definitely a cool like alien design, but not like one of my absolute favorites in the game. I do like the way the tentacles move when they lock around. It's animated pretty well. So because of all that, it's probably a 7 out of 10. Now for the second costume, again, like most second costumes, it's just a different color. And personally, I don't know, I was going to say I don't like it as much because I feel like the green fit better, but I actually kind of dig the blue, like light blue on everything that's instead of green. And I like how for like where his legs connect, instead of being yellow and red, they made that like gray. I think it works pretty well, and it's probably on the same level for me. So yeah, I give them both a 7 out of 10. But alright, let's move on to our last 2 costumes. Alright, so now for Zorgulon costumes 3 and 4, our last 2 costumes. Let's see how we feel about these ones. Let's see if we can get them together first. Because I definitely have some feelings about these costumes, for sure. So, starting off with costume 3. Again, it's kind of, it's like 1 and 2, except different colors. It's definitely, I think it's just on par with those ones. I like the more like, kind of looks like what their skin would look like. I like the little yellow red in the middle, but it's like kind of like, it almost looks like it's speckled on like the tentacles, like what their actual skin color would be with like, just the texture of what their skin would be, I guess. And then I like the green goggles. I want to see if it actually does not change the beams, but that's alright. Yeah, I'd say it's probably just on level with 1 and 2, another 7 out of 10. Now costume 4. I don't know what this is. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if this is a reference to something I'm not aware of. I am not a very big fan. It looks very, very strange. I do like that it has a different blaster. That is cool. It is definitely an interesting design, that's for sure, but it just looks so like strange to me. And especially when you shoot your beams, I believe it still does. No, okay, they did actually change that for this one. I thought it still did 2 beams, but it only does the 1 beam, which is actually a nice little touch since it only has 1 eye, obviously. Yeah, I'm not really sure what this one is in reference to. If it is, I think it's kind of weird he doesn't have a jetpack. I guess he kind of has like little meat jetpack back there, which is part of his body, which is kind of weird. But I feel like it shouldn't do the little propulsion thing it does. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the skin. This costume, it just looks weird to me all around. I'd probably have to give this one like a 4 out of 10. Yeah, I guess so. With that, Zorgulon being our last monster, our last 2 costumes, ending on our Worst costume of the day, or at least my least favorite. Yeah, not the best note to end on, but it is definitely a note to end on. But yeah, be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments, what your favorite costumes are, what your least favorite costumes are. If you disagree with me and this is the coolest costume in the game, or if you agree and think that it's probably the worst and looks really weird. Be sure to let me know what like references any of the costumes are from that I missed, like for Ultra V's. I know that's definitely a reference to something I just don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to stick around for tomorrow's video. It will be our last War of the Monsters video on the channel for a while, if not ever. So yeah, be sure to check into that one, and take care.